So welcome back to another YouTube video, and we're going to do it on the Stick It Up RS. I'm going to give you a bit of an update. Unfortunately, for the last couple of days, Ben's been missing in action. I'm not sure where he is, but right now it would be the perfect time for him to explain exactly what's going on with this. But you're going to have to deal with me, so give me a second. I'm just going to pop the bonnet.
Hiya.
Oh, look! You've heard of the Jack in the Box. It's a Ben in an engine bay.
Somebody took the engine. Somebody shut the bonnet on me after taking the engine out. I've been here all day.
No way. So this car's been in the middle of the workshop for a whole, like...
All day.
Has it?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, all day.
What a story. Anyway, Ben, get out of there. Do you need a hand?
I can't, I got cramp.
Anyway, so we'll give him a quick breakdown of what's happened here. I'm not sure where we got up to last time, are you?
Something about doing a cylinder head, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. So, let's rewind. We'll put some bits in here somewhere. Maybe not, maybe so. We wanted to establish exactly the condition and health of the engine. We put a boroscope in. I think we told them that, Ben. And we also decided that to have the Sidewinder set up, we'd need a big valve head. However, we did say, or I think we may have alluded to, the fact that the boroscope images and video didn't look that amazing. Let's assume that's what. If we were somewhat more prepared, we might have...
We probably said something like that.
Yeah, but...
It has been built for some years, so
yeah.
The reality is it probably didn't look...
But if we were more prepared, we might have reviewed what we said last time. No, let's just wing it. We'll wing it to death. Considering it was having a Sidewinder and the setup that's in it, the logical solution to finding out whether this engine was good, bad, ugly, indifferent, and giving the customer all information was to remove it, wasn't it, Ben?
Yeah, for lots of reasons. First one, obviously, mainly being that the cylinder head was coming off anyway because of the decision that, or the reality that we were going to have a big valve head. The other thing that I could point out really is, I suppose, on a fresh build like this, it's probably good practice to take the sump off and give everything a good clean anyway. So it's like...
Good point, well made.
Everything, like the head, the sump, is all a little bit more time consuming and awkward in the car. But also we've got a lot of other modifications like fuel system, heat protection, all sorts of stuff that's going to have to happen to accommodate the Sidewinder. And also the Sidewinder is just awkward anyway. So it kind of just made sense. Whether the engine was coming apart or not, it wasn't really the worst idea in the world.
But to summarise it, the cost of removing the engine extra and putting it back in with the items attached was far less than removing the cylinder head, then going, hang on a minute, let's remove the sump, and then going back to it and going, hang on a minute, we're going to have to loosely bolt back on the head, put the sump back on to drop the whole engine out because it needs a refresh anyway. We'll do some cutaways. We'll probably stay here. Don't want to move about too much and move over to the cylinder block and start talking about that now. Probably just insert some cutaways because it's far simpler that way. The cylinder block, probably questionably more damaged than it looked on the boroscope.
Always the case. Obviously the quality of the boroscope is good enough to give you a general idea, but in real life everything always looks a little bit worse.
Yeah, there was a lot of shadowing in the bores themselves. There was some vertical scoring. You could still kind of you could feel it with the tip of your nail. Guy's going over 700 horsepower. We actually spoke to him afterwards and mentioned oil consumption and the acceptable level of being, 1 litre per 1,000 kilometres, which is about a litre in 600 miles. And his response, I'm sure he won't mind me sharing this, was, yeah, I've had to put quite a bit of oil in it since I've had it. So, I mean, he was using it on track, so the reality of it is, had he not been using it in anger on the road, he probably wouldn't have used that much, would he?
Probably not. And the reality is, it might have been okay had we, done it as per the original plan now, but for how long? And, it could have been 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, but the money that's getting spent now overall is actually substantially less than it would have been if we'd have done everything again later. So
We
it's kind
should
of
probably point out as well that the oil consumption may not have been oil consumption. The engine looks immaculate, like it was built yesterday.
it does.
But the breather kit had some very heavy misting over it, which would have resulted in some oil loss. Turbocharger looks in really good condition, fine fettle. EFR, Borg-Warner EFR 7670, or some numbers about like that when we'll insert somewhere. Now that's the race version of the Borg-Warner, still not so well used these days, is it? Realistically.
We very rarely see an internally wastegated turbo on any of the builds because everyone who goes big turbo always wants a screamer pipe.
Yeah.
That's the long and the short of it.
We actually also found, as a result of taking the engine out, that the cast manifold that's on it that's no longer available, that was actually bent either on installation, which is not uncommon, is it? As in not the installation, as in the guy who installed it bent it putting it on. They do have a tendency to, when they were delivered, because this was done many years ago, it may not have come from one of the one of the usual suspects, as it were. There were quite a lot of people offering these online at one point or another, so they did come, and as a rule we generally used to surface finish.
Yeah, we did. It didn't take us long to realise that they were all, not perfect out of the box. So we started skimming them pretty soon. Yeah.
The sacrifice of taking the engine out was 100% worth it. We learnt a load of things. We also got to tell the customer exactly the spec of the vehicle for him to check it against what he was told, because he didn't do all the work to the vehicle. He was sold the vehicle with quite a lot of the components installed. We did find a couple of things that were maybe not quite as spec, whether that was a breakdown in communication between the original owner and the existing owner. We don't know, or maybe it was just confusion. It doesn't really matter, they were incidental. So what's happening now is that liner block, Ben?
Liner block, yeah. So yeah, we're going full send now.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense as well, doesn't it, with the power
100%, yeah.
700 plus horsepower realistically on a stock RS motor, especially with no shims. There were no shims installed. No shims wouldn't be that amazing. We'll have fresh everything, so we'll have fresh crankshaft, King race or ACL race bearings, whichever ones are available at the time, and then we'll combine it with the ARP mains cradle bolts as well. Just makes a bit of sense over about 800 horsepower to even have the cradle bolts in, because Simon Sighted Racing back in the day had one break loose at somewhere near 850. I think it was Hutchie's car, Michael Hutchinson's car.
I think it was more like 950, that one, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
Can't remember. Anyway, kind of by the by. Makes sense to have it there, and then at least if anything needs doing for maintenance wise, remembering that this is a track focused, no pun intended, focus. It makes sense for him, if he needs to do something in the future, to actually be able to do it. Combined with that, we're probably looking at a 3582 setup, which is tried and tested for us, and is a bit of the benchmark in it, really.
3584?
3584. Got an
RS.
82 on the shelf. 3584 RS. Probably do one of the new Gen 3s. We'll see what sort of exhaust housing size and everything we get to. We'll do some little bit of kind of deciding and refining on that one. Probably later on. Most of the components are in stock. The engine is underway being built, so we should see that installed sometime early January. We'll mate it all together. Clutch. Do you know?
I know what came out of it.
Yeah.
I know it had a Helix organic setup in there.
So due to sort of the build going up and up and up and up and up and away with the varies, we're probably going to end up leaving the organic in and seeing where we get to. It'll be an interesting thing. I think it will be okay, because at the end of the day, you know, the two aren't that far away from each other. We'll see anyway. It'll be an interesting one once we get them on dyno, and an interesting one to see how it performs on track. Ideally, you go with a 6 paddle or a twin plate setup. Try and stick away from the twin plates, because we just do, and we've never had the need to have them, have we, really? We're probably going to take you along the journey, not of the engine build, because that is fairly pointless and we've done variations of it before. I'd rather concentrate on the other bits that kind of make more sense. The Sidewinder, we can do an engine build any day of the week. In terms of Sidewinder setup, we probably do one a year or one biannually or something like that. We'll show you what goes into it. We'll show you your downpipe manufacture, because you'll be doing that. I don't think we got on even if we did, we'd have to adapt it for the 3584, you know, not the 82 like I said.
I don't think we've got anything to go. We've literally only got Sidewinder left, so everything else is going to have to be me.
Yeah, so Ben will be making the downpipe, the screamer. We might do it so that, because this is track car, I think we might do it so that we can split it and have, you know, a Sidewinder to atmosphere and return back into the downpipe, because when we actually did Greenlight Focus and put it on the hub dyno, we found in Lee Lockwood's video, or Greenlight, whichever one it was, we actually found that we got an improvement in power by returning it back into the right location within the downpipe. It just worked. So if you like this sort of content, then keep your eyes peeled on this one. Ben will walk you through it. Just let us know in the comments down below whether you want to see us do it together, or whether you want Ben to talk you through certain things, whether you want me to stop interrupting him, whether you'd like him to stop correcting me and make me look like an absolute helmet. Then comments down below. Anything to add to this, Benjamin?
The only actually thinking about it, back rewind, just the block, the linered block. Other than the obvious advantages of strength-wise, we have got that extra advantage as well with it being a track car. You know, we mentioned the ARPs, meaning that we can go back and revisit stuff. Obviously, the linered block is going to start life at 83 mil, which basically means that we've got a second chance. Should anything happen in the future.
If you needed to, you could have a fourth chance, because you could make it into one of Simon's Venoms.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
But if we'd have gone 83.5, obviously on the original block, then, you know, that was the last chance. So
100%. It's lasted really well. The previous builder, this is absolutely a zero slur. And Mikey might show you the Wiseco pistons rocking in the block. That's a lovely comment that we all love. Get yourself into Google Chrome, Safari, or whatever it is. Search for the Scoobies and the Wiseco pistons, and the fact that they shrink and don't fit and rattle about in the bores. That was a good reason for changing it. It's the whole reason that most people have changed to Mal pistons now. So before anyone, if we put any images up of this, before anyone goes, oh well, it was currently built, or it was clearly built by someone who didn't know this, that and the other, that is not the case, is it, Ben?
Absolutely not. Not when a car's been on the road for that many years with a build, you know, without any real issues. It's, you know, it was obviously a really good build.
HP Tuners did a lovely video on it, I think, way back when.
On the pistons?
Yeah, on piston slop. So, Mal pistons just you don't get that issue with them, especially when we actually physically send a set of pistons and get the bore clearances set for the pistons themselves, rather than just a generic-y thing. And one of the comments that used to go about, which I think is kind of maybe true, is that the blanks were just close enough on the Wisecos, and that's what they ran with, and it kind of worked for some and didn't for others. Who knows? Google it yourself. But if there's anything that you'd like to see in the future, let us know. If you're bored to death by this, the unsubscribe button's somewhere over here. And if you really like us and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you like Ben, then like it. If you don't like me, put the thumbs down or whatever, and then at least we know who you want to see. So, see you next week. Have a very jolly Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yes, you are.